Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Eric Larsen Day, so we are looking at the last issue he did for Marvel in the early 90s before moving on to Image Comics with his creator-owned character Savage Dragon, which he writes and draws to this day. Before we do that though, real quick, Big Baby Reviews is on the road to 250 subs. That's kind of our first humble milestone. Once we hit it, that 250 mark, we're going to have a special video for you guys. Throwing that out there, I've looked at the analytics just a little bit. Thank you to my 160 plus subscribers up to this point. I really appreciate your support, but you only represent 11% of the viewership. I was surprised at least 89% of the people who watch these videos are not actually subscribed, which is odd to me, but hey, just going to throw that out there. If you're so inclined, if you enjoyed the channel, please subscribe. It definitely helps us out. It helps build some momentum and helps get the channel out there. Thank you once again to my 160 plus loyal subscribers. I'm hoping to make that number grow and hit that first milestone of 250 subs. Now, enough of the shameless promo. We're going to move on with the actual comic here. So we're looking at Spider-Man issue 23, cover dated June 1992. Before we move within the comic, we're going to take a quick look at the triple gatefold cover, which is super awesome. I'm hoping the zoom here is not going to mess up. That's happened before, so I'm trying to keep the comic as low as possible here so we don't get any issues there. That's not too bad, right? I think we're getting most of it there. So, I mean, can you ask for more? Especially with the triple gatefold cover is like dynamic action, right? Different planes, characters are closer, further away. Like every new character adds an extra layer of depth almost. You're getting, you know, the Sinister Six all teched out in 90s gear here. Big guns, you know, pouches, you know, they've been life-elded a little bit. You've got these robots in the background helping them out, reminiscent of kind of the robots in Ronin, I find, right? That's kind of where the inspiration, I'm pretty sure, comes from. And then you've got the good guys, right? And all the kind of guest stars that we've seen throughout this whole series and others that we're going to see today in this issue who haven't shown up yet. But basically, the only guy who hasn't come back, I think, is Sleepwalker. And thank God. Who wants to see him? So we've got Deathlock, Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, of course, Nova, Solo, Incredible Hulk, and the Fantastic Four, all looking super awesome. You know, Larsen's a master of that Kirby kind of energy. His anatomy is solid, right? But like his foreshortening is just tremendous and extreme. So just a great, take all these, you know, extra little inserts and titles and stuff out. This is a super awesome poster. I hope it's been put out there at some point, you know, if I can get my hands on this for a good price, you know, I think I'd put that on my wall. A much bigger size too. That'd be great. So there's the cover. Let's fold her back up and have a look inside. Hopefully, once again, it doesn't mess up the zoom here on my camera. I'll just take a quick look before opening the book up. Make sure everything's looking good. There we go. All right, let's crack her open. Eric Larsen's last issue at Marvel in the early 90s, 1992. So, I think I've talked about this before with Larsen, and that I ripped it off from Larsen, then later found out that basically it's a Kirby thing, where you start with a splash, and then you move on to the double splash. So he's done it here again, and I just think it's a great storytelling tool format to bring you right into the action, especially with this kind of stuff, superhero action. And his splash page is killer. I've always thought this, something about the anatomy, the pose, the fineness of the detail and stuff on the costume. I just think this is one of the greatest, coolest looking Spider-Man shots ever here, you know? And you got him socking this guy in the face with his foot, right? The reaction's in the right direction. I love the face here with the Vulture getting smacked in the mouth. Same time, Vulture, you know, he's been exaggerating the nose. Maybe he could have exaggerated a bit more here. But I mean, you know, nothing wrong with this drawing at all. Just looks awesome. And of course leads to the double page splash, which is just insane. You get your big kind of up close, cool Spider-Man shot. And then you've got this guy in the back, this classic Marvel monster, Kirby monster called Gog. And I mean, man, he just, how Larsen has the balls to bring the forget about Spider-Man. Yes, the camera's in close, but like it's so close, or well, I guess Gog is so big that, you know, he gets cut off and he cuts off a finger here, and you got the, like, just everything that cuts off either part of his hand or the thumb or the finger here, right, is thought out in the sense that you still understand that there's a big hand in the background there. You know, it's very specific. There's reasons why the foot doesn't overlap certain parts, right? It keeps the hand clarity, if I can call it that, right? And in spite of everything that's going on there, it's like, look at the planes in this image, right? So Spider-Man's closest to us. He's in the foreground, right? You could consider the hand, right? And I guess some of these characters part of the middle ground, right? Yeah, that's what I would say. And then the background is basically, you know, the other part of Gog that's here with his hand on top of the building and most of his body outside the building. He's that big, you know? This is just like so many layers of depth in this image. So great. Piles of bodies here, the Hydra bodies, that helps too to create an extra level of depth. Just a great double page splash. You know, the news guy, right? Just getting some plot points across, right? Is that Clark Kent? I assume it is, or some sort of parody of him. So we've got the pedestrian page, or I don't know if we talked about this too much, but the B story with Mary Jane is that she's going in for an audition for a movie where she's going to have to basically get naked in the movie, and I guess she has to show the casting director her body and stuff, and that's what she's doing here. She's going to the audition. Kind of weird in light of what's going on in past years in Hollywood. Sorry, what we found out about what's going on in Hollywood for past years, what that is, and I'm not going to go into it here, but you know what I'm talking about, has been going on for decades, if not, you know, more in Hollywood. It's just we now know more about it, at least in the mainstream, right? I'm sure people have known over the decades as well, just they don't talk. But yeah, funny how we're getting kind of that situation here, even though it's not spelled out, because back then, you know, it wasn't seen as such a, well, let's say the view on that was different. That's how I'll put it. Love Larsen, the angles he chooses, like just he tries to do some hard angles, right? Some crazy foreshortening always, especially with Spider-Man, it makes sense, right? But I just feel he's like so successful at it. Like, I really do like McFarlane, but I just think there's something a little more sound in the way that Larsen does Spider-Man. Just he takes all the McFarlane stuff and makes it more solid, more anatomically correct, I guess. Even though he's still doing all the flexies, like in this pose here, everything still works, right? There's no odd bending of body parts where you're not sure exactly how that could actually happen in real life. Even though I'm sure he's still exaggerating things, right? And doing things that aren't possible. Love this shot here. It's a smaller shot, but look how Larsen uses light and shade to, you know, create that sense of light on Spider-Man here. Again, that's just in the inking and the pencils and stuff. Without color, this panel would be just as effective. Love how he does that. His lighting, his stark lighting here, very cool. So, of course, you know, when you introduce some characters, not that that's the first time we've seen the Fantastic Four, but at least introducing them to this issue, you got to use the splash page, right? Looks pretty cool. Very dynamic. The shot of Nova, we've talked about before. Larsen really likes Nova. He's one of his favorite characters. So he always, I think, spends maybe just that extra little bit of effort when he's drawn Nova. Always looks cool, even though he's not necessarily the coolest character. When Larsen does him, I think he's probably the best artist to draw Nova. Solo comes back all of a sudden. He teleports in with some Kirby crackle here, right? Yeah. It's like Solo came out before Cable, right? Do you think maybe there's a bit of Solo in Cable? Rob Liefeld see that in the shoulder pads and the you know, the pouches and stuff, because I do, even though Larsen has pushed it here, so by this point Cable has come out, so there's starting to be this Cable effect where, you know, they're just going crazy with the shoulder pads and the pouches and stuff. But I do feel Solo, maybe not to this level in his first few appearances, but did it before Cable is how I'd put it. And was Solo introduced by Larsen or McFarlane? I'm not quite sure, but you know, that's before, it's probably a little bit before Liefeld was on New Mutants. So I wonder if Cable was inspired by Solo. If he was, well, he was way more successful than Solo. This is a pretty cool bit of storytelling. I like what they've done here, where like, okay, Larsen, you've got the wider panel here with the character who's, you know, posing an action against another, right? So the Thing here is punching here, and then Spider-Man is kicking over here, and the Invisible Woman is using her invisible shaft or dildo, I don't know what that is, force baseball bat or something, right? And they've been fooled into thinking that they're attacking a villain, right, by Mysterio, using his Mysterio, powers of mysteriousness. What does he do? He creates illusions. So you get to see what's actually happening and who's actually getting hit. Like, I think the way he did it is very clever here. So hopefully I'm explaining this properly. Thing thinks he's punching Doc Ock, Dr. Octopus, but he's actually punching, as you can tell from this panel, Mr. Fantastic. Spider-Man thinks he's kicking, I'm assuming, Electro. That's what he says, and from all the electricity in the background here, right? But really, he just kicks the Human Torch in the face. And again, Invisible Woman with her huge invisible dildo, instead of hitting, I guess that looks like Hobgoblin here, right? His costume, it's actually Nova. So I think that's a really clever way of doing it there, right? Because really what it is one big panel, right? Split, and then that split allows for that showing of who the actual character is. More ads. And then we got a Battle of the Titans here. So Ghost Rider shows up, Hulk. More illusions. You see Ghost Rider's head just kind of roll. Boop, boop, boop. It is an illusion, but that's an interesting visual there for sure. Obviously, Ghost Rider's a lot stronger than that. So you've got Thing and Hulk fighting, obviously because Hulk probably thinks Thing is an enemy, and Thing is thinking that Hulk is an enemy, right? So things are getting turned around here. Not working in favor of the heroes, right? And of course, someone else. Every new page, it seems like a new character just kind of steps into the scene, right? So Deathlock, it's almost theatrical. So Deathlock here comes in and smashes Mysterio's helmet, right? Stops the illusions. So now the team is pissed and ready to go. But let's not forget, Gog is still around. So after all that time, what was he doing? Just kind of watching? He decides to slam his fist down once again. This vertical panel here with Spider-Man, very cool once again. The lighting, I love how Larsen will leave these, like, especially, it's very effective on Spider-Man's costume because you instantly understand, if you don't include the webs, right, that it's like a beam of light or a strong light source, right? So this beam is shining here. That's where we're getting the light on this side here, on the fist. And you got an explosion back here. So maybe that's what's creating the light here. Maybe it's here, but, it all makes sense. It all works really well. And also kudos to the colorist for, the red that's being used here. It's very much darker. And that just helps to highlight the effect here, and I will say this, they're not using the white of the page. There's, if you compare with just the white of the page here within the lettering bubbles, within the phylactery, this is just like a touchy yellow, which just makes the effect even better, I think. White would have worked, but yellow just makes it even cooler. All right, so we got some movie-style storytelling with the vertical panels, right? Generally, the Frank Quietly. Obviously, Frank Quietly comes a little later, but, that vibe, that's what I would call that. So we've got some cool vertical panel here. Okay, we got Solo taking care of Gog. And just as Spider-Man comes in to stop him from hurting Gog, funny enough, we got Solo here teleporting out. Okay. A lot going on with the overlaps and stuff, but it's just clear enough where you can see it. A very Kirby kind of way of showing energy, or in this case, teleportation. Kirby Crackle as well, with these kind of lines merging at the vanishing point here. Light lines, dynamism lines, I don't know what you want to call them. So now basically all the individual members of the Sinister Six are being dispatched by our, not just Spider-Man, but by our guest stars here. So Deathlock takes care of the Vulture, shoots the guns out of his hands, of course, doesn't hurt him. Doesn't actually shoot him. Here we got Ghost Rider taking care of Hobgoblin. Makes sense. They've encountered each other before, right? Earlier with the McFarlane two-parter. And we've got Doc Ock here. And the Hulk in this episode or issue gets the better of Doc Ock finally, right? So everyone's just kind of being taken care of, right? Wrap that up with a nice little bow at the end. And I love this sequence here. I thought it was pretty cool. So Sandman comes back, but, in this instance, he's Glassman and just cuts the crap out of Doc Ock here. And, it's a PG Marvel Comics Code approved comic. So obviously Larsen just kind of, Shows you the glass and the silhouette here. I have to assume, though, next episode we're looking at Savage Dragon. If this scene was in Savage Dragon, there would be so much more blood, right? There's a hint of it here. He threw in a bit of splatter, right? Very discreetly. I feel like there would be tons more in a Savage Dragon comic, and I'd be okay with that, even at this age when I was reading this kind of stuff. That's what I was looking for. Extreme action and extreme violence, right? That's right before puberty. Watched all the canon movies and stuff. This stuff is right up my alley. And we get the last two Larsen pages before he moves on to Savage Dragon. So, a bit of the story here, right? Talking about the movie. And she points out that she never actually went to the audition, but she says here, I mean, geez, I don't kid myself. I know I'm not the greatest actress in the world or anything, but I'm okay. I deserve better than that. Also want to mention Schwarzenheimer. So the next movie she was going to star in is with Schwarzenheimer. Obviously a parody or play name on Schwarzenegger. So I just think Schwarzenheimer is just hilarious. And even as a kid, I understood the reference, right? Obviously. And yeah, I guess just, it's funny because it's for Peter's birthday. Happy birthday. But I feel like this is almost kind of a slight parting shot to Larsen in a weird way. So you've got kind of the Spider-Man secondary cast in the front, but I feel like maybe some of these characters in the back are people at Marvel. I could be wrong, but that Eric Larsen knew while he was working there or something. Again, that's just me putting my thoughts on that. But I think it's a pretty good... I've talked about Liefeld doing the down shot, right? I think Larsen does a pretty good job of that as well. Another interesting screen tone use. Larsen has a lot of those in this period. I haven't pointed them out this issue too much, but there's one, right? Which I think works really well, right? It seems like the kind of long dress that an older lady would wear. Yeah, good choice there. And I never noticed that, but I just see it here. Bye, Spidey, Eric. So a little parting message from Eric there. So if you're not reading if you're reading the comics, but you don't read the back pages or anything like that, you have no idea next issue. Maybe surprised to see that Eric Larsen is not there and has disappeared, unless for some reason you notice this, but I don't think everyone would right away notice that. I don't know if I mentioned this before, just a quick aside. Larsen's very good with textures, the bricks here, the ground, dirt, probably some shadows from the trees. It seems like it's fall. But I love the way he does these kind of wooden textures here, the floor and stuff. Very effective, right? Looks like what it's supposed to, and I feel like as an artist, it's probably very quick to do. And it looks great. I know that's a weird detail, but when you're drawing textures and stuff, if you get them wrong, they stand out. If you get them right, it just creates a convincing scene. So there you have it. Really fun issue. Great artwork. Lots of great, dynamic poses of cool, interesting characters. So that was Spider-Man issue 23, June 1992. Did you like this issue? Did you own it as a kid? Let me know your thoughts, your comments on that. Any comments, questions I may have asked during the review. If you have the answer, please contact me. Let me know. So I am Maximus Rex. This was Big Baby Reviews, and I'm wishing everyone out there an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.